So, I used to be that person who would say, I would never do that. How could that person do that? I would never say that. You're like, and then I realized by going through some unimaginable stuff myself that you do not know how you would respond in certain situations unless you have actually lived through the situation yourself. And so many things are contextual. Like, let me give you a really good example. Let's say that you've never taken a self-defense class, right? But someone attacks you. Maybe you'll try to run. Maybe you'll just stay quivering, right, in fear. Maybe you would remain silent. Maybe you would pass out from shock. I've seen a lot of different responses. But there are people who see on the internet something happening to someone else and they say, I would never do that. I would do this instead. I would do it this way. I would do this. I would say this. That would never happen to me because blah, 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 blah. And then they don't realize that there are so many things that are out of your control. There's going to be a situation that you're in when you aren't ready to deal with it. You don't have a solution for it. Nobody actually, maybe no one around you has a solution for it. You can't Google it and get a direct answer. What you can do is realize that you're doing the best you can with what happened to you. Let me give you guys an example. So like there's a woman who I was pretty close with, and something happened with my mom, right? And so what I did is my mom's car was parked across the street, and I literally took my car and I just crashed. I drove my car straight into her car. I just drove it straight into her car to crash the car. No one was in the car, so it wasn't like her literal personhood, but it was her car. And I was so upset. I was so upset. And other people, so the woman that I'm talking about is friends with my mom. And so the way that my mom tells the story, she is just completely the victim, right? Like, oh my God, she's this complete angel who did nothing wrong at all, right? Like, she has no accountability. She's done nothing wrong. Now, the problem with that narrative is that actually is not what happened, right? The reality is, my mom completely stuck her nose into my business to an extent that she basically created an entire narrative for herself that was not true into a situation that had 100% to do with me and nothing to do with her, which completely changed the outcome of a situation that was none of her business, one. And two, the results of that had drastic consequences for me, and not her, just me. So now I'm left to deal with cleaning up basically a mess that she made. It one way, I'm not being specific here, but maybe I can try to give an example. Like, let's say you have, or I have a cup of juice, right? And the point of me having this cup of juice is I want to drink my juice. But let's say that in this case, my mom were to come and then knock the juice right out of my hand on the floor so that it spills. And then she were to just walk away. So somebody has to clean up the juice, right? Because like the juice is now spilled all over the floor. That person was me. Like I had to go and clean up all of the juice off of the floor. But I needed my juice to drink, right? Like, so then now I also have to go buy another cup of juice. And all of the time that this was happening, her narrative was, I'm the victim. It was my juice the whole time, right? Like this, see how I was like happy over here with my cup of juice? Then all of a sudden, here you come. You knocked it right out of my hand. Like, you did that. The juice was not spilled, and then you came and you spilled the juice. Now the juice is spilled, and I have to clean it up. And I have to go get more juice. Meanwhile, you're gone telling a story. What the fuck? Like, you're not, that doesn't make you a good person. And if we like kind of take that analogy a little bit further, let's say that happened like 2 or 3 times. You might be really fucking upset with a person because they keep knocking the juice right out of your hand. And especially if you ask them to stop. If you said, stop knocking the juice out of my hand, and they just kept doing it, you'd probably be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, stop knocking the juice out of my hand. Some people cannot, they just refuse to stop knocking the juice out of your hand. Maybe that's a thing. Or B, they just don't give a shit. So then they'll just continue like knocking the juice right out of your hand. And you might be sitting here like, what? Like, why won't they just leave my juice alone? Why don't they just get their own cup of juice? I don't understand. If someone knocks the juice out of your hand enough times, you might crash their car.